Hello and welcome. My name is Gretchen Van Esselston, and I'm Director of Education for the Specialty Food Association. I'm so pleased today to welcome our guest, Bill Guyton, Executive Director, Fine Chocolate Industry Association. We're going to be talking today a lot about one of my favorite topics, which is fine chocolate. So let's go ahead and get started. How are you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing great, Gretchen, and I just wanted to say how excited we are to be partnered with the Specialty Food Association for your Specialty Food Live event.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you with us. So let's get into it. So, Bill, how do you define fine chocolate? What's the difference between fine chocolate and mass market chocolate in terms of price and quality?
Great, those are great questions. And if you do a Google search, you'll actually see the definition that we have on the internet, and it's on our website as well. But we define fine chocolate in terms of its flavor, its texture and appearance, as well as the limited ingredients that the chocolate has, which tends to be higher in cocoa content, lower in sugar. Another distinguishing feature is how it's sourced and processed. So you typically see that that fine chocolate, for example, is minimally processed. The flavor tends to be very unique, coming from different countries and different flavor beans from those countries. And it's higher in chocolate content and lower in other ingredients. And as far
Fantastic. Sounds delicious.
Yes, and as far as price and quality, um, fine chocolate is of a higher quality because of its ingredients, and the price point tends to be a little bit higher, but not over the price range of most consumers. So you see a wide range of pricing from $4 up to very high levels depending upon the product.
Excellent. And what's the size of the fine chocolate market segment of the industry? And
Well,
what's the growth potential?
yeah, the overall U.S. chocolate industry for sales is around north of $21 billion a year. Now, the fine chocolate segment of the chocolate industry is a small portion of that. It's about 5%, between 5 and 10% of that. So, as far as the growth potential, what we're seeing this year from IRI figures is for general chocolate, it's about 4%. And for fine chocolate, it's between 5 and 10%. So, despite some of the challenges with COVID, we're seeing continued growth in fine chocolate.
Fantastic. And let's talk about that a little bit later, but I am interested to hear about how your industry is faring with COVID. So, what about the consumers? Who is buying the fine chocolate in the US? Who are these folks and what kinds of products are they looking for?
Yeah, so we did an extensive survey of chocolate consumers in the United States with the National Confectioners Association back in 2018. And we found some very interesting results as a result of that survey, which we'd be pleased to share with some of your member companies if they're interested. But when we look specifically at fine chocolate consumers, what we find are that they tend to be millennials, affluent, they live in urban areas. Interestingly, they have a slight preference for US chocolate over European chocolate at the fine chocolate segment of the market. They also are very concerned about environmental stewardship and social conditions. Uh, Certification matters, and fine chocolate consumers during the survey mentioned that they're willing to pay the price for certification as well. So that's important to them. Um, these consumers tend to be experimental too. They're always looking for the next new thing. They are loyal to certain brands, but they also want to check out and see what else is in the market. So that's where there's a lot of innovation going on. Probably the most innovation in the whole chocolate industry is within the fine chocolate industry space. Um, Another distinguishing feature is that they tend to like dark over milk chocolate. Uh, the respondents mentioned that I think 47% of them prefer a higher cocoa content, which fits in well with my description of fine chocolate. Um, as far as what they like to call it, we call ourselves the Fine Chocolate Industry Association. And what we're finding from consumers is they actually prefer that term over craft or artisan. So we think fine chocolate is a nice umbrella term which embraces artisan as well as craft chocolate. Another thing that we found through the survey is that people like eating fine chocolate by itself, although they sometimes eat it with coffee or wine or other uh, food products. The best thing is just to eat it by itself. It's so good. Um, and where they buy it, what we're finding is that tends to be really across the spectrum from brick and mortar specialty retail stores to festivals. And of course, with the onset of COVID-19, what we're seeing is a very strong growth in online sales. So we've seen a lot of our companies pivot to online platforms to sell their products directly to consumers. Um, the other thing is that as far as trends go, we see that organic, uh, non-GMO, vegan, all of those are important trends within the fine chocolate industry. And then lastly, on flavor preferences for consumers, um, fine chocolate consumers like almonds, caramel, peanut butter, hazelnut, and coffee in that order, which is a little bit different from mass market chocolate.
And so coffee was a flavoring in that case?
That's correct, yes.
Delicious, one of my faves for sure. So how about the FCIA? So as I understand it, it was launched in 2007 with just a handful of companies, and now you're up to more than 300 members here in the US and abroad. Could you tell us a little bit more about who composes your membership?
Well, first of all, this is the most exciting segment of the chocolate industry. These are innovative startup companies in a lot of cases. Some of them have been around for many years. They all like to make really unique products that are really wonderful to taste, and they're healthy for you as well. So our membership is really quite diverse. About a third of the members are bean to bar, meaning that they purchase the beans directly from cocoa farmers and they produce finished chocolate products from that. We also have about another third of our membership, which are chocolatiers, and they buy uh, chocolate processed already and then make fantastic products from that. The remaining third of our membership is really a combination of specialty retailers, cocoa traders, equipment suppliers, and even farmer organizations. We also even have bloggers, chocolate bloggers that are members. So we embrace all, and it's a really diverse but fun group to work with.
Fantastic. Reminds me a bit of our membership over at SFA. So how have your companies been impacted by the COVID pandemic?
Well, it's interesting because we had two wonderful trade shows earlier this year, and then in March, of course, with the onset of COVID-19, we realized that we had to make some significant changes in what we do, and of course, our company members have done the same thing. I mentioned before that there's been an increase in online chocolate sales, and certainly that's something that we've seen happen. We did a survey of our company members during the summer just to find out how their businesses are faring in the current climate. And about a third of them said that they were struggling economically with COVID, the COVID economy. But about a half of them said they were about the same place this year as they were the previous year, which was encouraging. And then the top tier, there was a good percentage too that actually said that they were doing better this year than the previous year. And I think those that have been able to do really well have been those that have adopted and gone more to online sales and looked at different ways to reach consumers directly or through specialty retail outlets.
Great. You talked a little bit about bean to bar a minute ago. So where do FCIA company members typically purchase their cocoa beans? And what kinds of provisions are taken to ensure ethical sourcing and also sustainability?
Well, fine chocolate companies are always seeking fine flavor beans wherever they can find them. And you can find fine flavor in Africa, Latin America, and in Asia. But about 80% of the company members source from Latin America. And as you know, Latin America is the source of cacao, it's the birthplace of the crop. And you see a lot of diversity there and a lot of uh, differences in quality and flavors of cocoa in those different countries. So that tends to be the primary source, but we also see in Africa, for example, in Madagascar, Tanzania, Uganda, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. These are all places that are also producing some fine chocolate, as well as in Asia, such as the Philippines and Vietnam and other countries there.
Sounds great. So how can we learn more about FCIA and maybe get some online demos and maybe some samples?
Well, there's two different websites that I would turn to. One is our homepage, which is finechocolate.industry.org. And there you can find a lot of information about what our association is doing, as well as a list of all of our corporate members. We have weekly webinars where we provide educational content and demonstrations to our own company members, but also to those outside the industry who would like to learn more about fine chocolate. So that's been a really fun experience. And we typically have about 100 company members a week that join on those weekly webinars. We also have a consumer-facing website called makemindfine.com. And we have over 100 of our company members listed there that have direct online sales to consumers. And interestingly, we also have their GPS coordinates. So if a consumer wants to buy a locally made chocolate, they can do a search and find where they can find that local shop. And also we have a search engine so that people can find organic or different certified or other kind of specialty chocolate products that they might be seeking. On the website too, on makemindfine.com, we also have a section dedicated to demonstrations and experiences. So you can look and see what some of the festivals that are upcoming, as well as some of the demonstrations that our company members offer. And lastly, on the site as well, I'd like to mention that we have a whole section dedicated to about cocoa. And there you can look and actually take a tour of some of these cocoa producing countries to learn more about the farmers that produce the crop, what makes them special and different from other countries, and also to find local contacts there. So we're really excited about this site, and we think that consumers are really going to enjoy it.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining me. Our guest today again has been Bill Guyton of Fine Chocolate Industry Association. And we'll be doing live Q&A on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern as part of Specialty Food Live. But if you're watching this before that time, please reach out to Bill via those websites that he mentioned. And really, thank you for taking the time for being with us today, Bill.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. Really appreciate it.
Excellent. Take care.